Bits of history about London, see all the beautiful landmarks. That will be the first half of our journey. And then we'll be turning around. We're going to the city of Westminster, also known as Greater London. We'll be hitting the area of Piccadilly Circus. Of course, that's where all the magics of the Christmas lights will be. Will be plenty of opportunities for you guys to see the lights. We'll be going through both Regent Street, Piccadilly, as well as St. James's Street, seeing all the amazing lights. We're going through one of the most expensive areas, not only in the UK, but in the world as well. We'll be heading towards Mayfair. So our journey is a continuous panoramic tour. This means we're not stopping anywhere. It's a full journey. It will take roughly about an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes, depending on traffic. So we're due to be back here at London Eye just before 6 p.m. Still plenty of time for you guys to go grab something to eat, go for a drink, and go walk along the river if you like. Give you guys all the information later on. When we start our journey, we'll show you But first glimpse of the Christmas lights here down the street, look on your left-hand side, you guys. But of course, the best ones will be around Piccadilly. We'll see that later on. We're now approaching the west end of London, which is also the theatre district. You can see the Mamma Mia, Tina Turner, and the Lion King we saw earlier. Also here you will find the beautiful Waldorf Hotel on your left-hand side. This here is a beautiful luxury hotel which was used as an important filming location in the famous movie Titanic. So if you guys remembered in the movie when Jack and Rose met for the first time on the beautiful staircase, those were filmed within the Waldorf Hotel. Now we're going to be driving through quite a few luxury hotels on our journey this afternoon. We don't have to spend a lot of money to stay overnight. In most of these places, we can simply enjoy a lovely afternoon tea as well. Of course, the Tina Turner show here at the Outwich Theatre. Now we're in this area that is called Outwich, which roughly translates to old town. So out for old. And whenever you see the word says W-Y-C-H or W-Y-I-C-H, which or wick, this means it's a settlement near the river. So this here used to be the old settlement near the river. So for example, we have also nearby Chiswick and Greenwich. They're all settlements by the river Thames. This dragon here indicates we're crossing the border between the city of Westminster into the city of London. So the Romans came to London around 43 AD, that is nearly 2,000 years ago. The Romans built a settlement again near the river, which they called Londinium. That's how we got the name London. The initial Londinium was not a large area, only about 1.1 square miles. So the city of London here is also known as the square mile, and it's a financial powerhouse. Now we're driving along Fleet Street, which here used to be the heart of British printing and journalism industry. So all the newspapers, news agents used to be based on Fleet Street all the way to 2016. Today's Fleet Street is full of private banks and law firms. And of course, wherever you have the bankers, the lawyers, and back in the day, the journalists, there are also many, many pubs here down Fleet Street. That's, of course, where you got all your gossips from. traffic? We'll be heading towards where the real Bank of England is today, a bit later on. Now, if you guys also watched the movie which came out in 2007, that's of course also talking about this area, but that is all fiction, luckily. You guys will notice there are also two towers, and on top of the towers else in the room, I am super repeat, and I am super. Another interesting building just in front of us on your right-hand corner. As we drive through the traffic here, you will find a beautiful astronomical clock in the middle of the entrance. It will tell you the date, the time, the zodiac, and in the very middle of the clock, you will see a face of someone there. I think it's going to be a bit dark, but I will tell you now. That is the face of Sir Winston Churchill in the middle of the Gherkin house. So look to your right-hand side, ladies and gents, to the blue astronomical clock here. Now, Lord Gherkin was a close friend to Winston Churchill, so I guess the idea was, I love you just so much, you have to be in the middle of the universe. The Gherkin house here, you guys, that is the headquarters for the Financial Times in London. Now we're in the heart of the city. The city of London here is not a residential area. Only about 7,000 to 8,000 people who live here. 90% of all these buildings we're driving along, they're either offices or they're commercial buildings, or maybe restaurants or hotels. But before pandemic lockdown, on a daily basis, every Monday to Thursday, we're expecting over 200,000 people to commute to this 1 square mile and work in all these big corporate buildings nearby. Because of our geographical convenience, we have access here in London to both the North American and Asian stock markets. This means on a daily basis, there are estimated over 30 billion pounds worth of foreign exchange being made right here in the city. Now, since London is divided into two different areas, there are also two mayors. We are more familiar with London Mayor Sadiq Khan, but here in the city only, we have someone called the Lord Mayor of London, which is more like a ceremonial title really, because the Lord Mayor does not get paid, and the person will change every year. They're only in charge of the city, which nothing much really happens to all historical buildings here. But every year in November, we have a ceremony which is called the Lord Mayor's Parade. When a new mayor is elected, he will organize a parade in the city, which of course happened last month. Now, to give you guys another great example of how London here used to be Roman, this huge building complex here on your right-hand side, you guys, this is the Bloomberg Financial Corporation. But during construction, the building workers, they discovered the whole Roman civilization right underneath this building. So today we have a big corporate building above, and underneath there's a Roman museum, which opens public for free. So if you're interested in Roman history, you may come back here another time. And speaking of the Lord Mayor of London, ladies and gents, look at this building that the lights on your right-hand corner in front of us. This here is the Mansion House, and that is the official residence for the Lord Mayor of London. Another lovely Christmas tree in front of the Mansion House here as well. And now right in front of us, you guys, you will, that is the Royal Exchange right in front of us, where the columns are. That is where all trading in Britain initially started during the reign of Elizabeth I. And on your left-hand corner, this huge building complex, which is says underground, that is the Bank of England today. So as you can understand, this is a very important area, even historically, because this is where the Great Fire of London initially started. Now the Great Fire of London happened in September 16 left, and you'll see a very winter-themed animals. You have the fox and the rabbit here. On your left, there's even more along the river side as well. That's a lovely place to be walking around, maybe perhaps another time. Now this time of the year, Christmas is pretty much everywhere. Not only just near Piccadilly, you see the beautiful lights, of course, as well. But in the window shops, you see some Santas walking around every now and then, especially around weekends. And can you believe it? Next week is Christmas. The other day I was checking on the calendar. It's actually next week. Can't wait. So I was telling you guys about the London Bridge. Now, this London Bridge we just drove through, that is the 5th London Bridge now. The previous London Bridge had a really interesting story. In the 1970s, the previous London Bridge started having problems. Instead of fixing them, the local council here, they actually sold it. Some of you guys may know about this. In 1973, an American businessman spent about $2 million and he purchased London Bridge. And that is not all, because you think, what do you do with that? I mean, where are you going to keep it? He actually spent another almost $2 million, and he shipped London Bridge piece by piece to Lake Buster City in Arizona. If any of you guys ever travels there, not only will you find the beautiful Grand Canyon, you will also find the original 4th London Bridge there, piece by piece, reconstructed back together. Now shortly, ladies and gents, we'll be turning on the much prettier Tower Bridge, so get your cameras ready once again. Tower Bridge opened in the late Victorian era, in the 1890s. But until today, Tower Bridge, it is still a functioning bridge, meaning this still opens up and closes on a regular basis. The actual lifting and closing process of the bridge takes under 2.5 minutes. So it's pretty fast, presuming if it doesn't get stuck, which happens every now and then, and that's a problem. A couple weeks ago, Tower Bridge just went over a maintenance for over the weekend, so should all be good for now. The color theme for Tower Bridge here, you guys will notice, will be blue, white, and red. This was printed for Queen Elizabeth II, our Queen's Diamond Jubilee, in 2012. So it's a history of 2 queens, Queen Victoria and our current queen now. It's named Tower Bridge because of course we'll be arriving shortly at our second landmark this evening. You will see the Tower of London coming up. Now let's talk prison and execution ground. Now in English history, we had a very famous or maybe infamous king. His name was King Henry VIII. He married 6 different wives, and unfortunately, 2 of them, they were both captured and then later executed here, right in the Tower of London. A bit of a scary story. Later on, the tower was a royal mint, but perhaps most surprisingly, you guys, the Tower of London, it was once the very first London Zoo. So if you came here maybe 250 years ago, you will find there were many tigers, lions, monkeys kept in the tower. Even dolphins swimming around this area. Those were all gifts to the British royal family. If you think about it, when you get to a point, you are the King of England. I am sure you have everything you ever wanted. What can I give you to impress you? So they were given many wild, exotic animals, and they were all kept here in the tower for the public. Actually, the public, I don't think they had the time to come and have a look, but later on was quite a few occasions of escaping